Previously on the back nine.
What is that, Mr. Announcer voice? What are you doing?
Well,
I mean,
remember last week we had our dads on for Father's Day, pre-Father's Day. We got through maybe not even half the stuff because it was so good. Remember, we stopped it in the middle. So I was doing a thing like we're in a.
This is how we're continuing the show with your James Earl Jones, Mr. CNN voice.
Yeah, that was the idea.
All right, bring it.
Right, here. All right, here you go. All right. In 3, 2. Previously on the back nine.
This is the back nine with Dennis Williams and Josh Mora.
Can I interject something? I've listened to most, if not all, of the episodes. And
why haven't you listened to all of them?
I think I have by now, but I might have missed one in the middle somewhere. And they're really wonderful. And I'm not just saying that because they've made a little bit of a difference in my thinking. I think I've always been fairly introspective, but I think I've actually learned listening to this show how to be less selfish and to understand a little bit better what that means, because sometimes even things that you yourself think are selfless and the world would think are selfless, they have some selfishness in them too, because they make you feel good. They make you think I just did a good thing.
Do you have an example?
No, it's day to day. It's really more day to day than that. But I think I'm a little bit less selfish. I think about it when I start to do something. And if I can say to myself, this is mostly selfless, it's for her or something like that, even though I know there's some selfishness in it because I'll probably get a nice kiss. But there is selflessness in it. Or if I'm starting to do something like run out to the golf course the second time that day, maybe I think about it and don't quite do that.
Yeah, I will say this. I think a lot of women, their love language is to be served and love, like to be served a little bit, like to do things for them. They love it because they're so used to doing things for other people. So when you do things for them, it's appreciated tenfold. And I see that in my relationship. I feel good when I do something for my fiance because of what I get in return from her happiness. Like, I think that's what you're saying. And I can totally see that in my second chapter with the person I'm with now. And I think you see that too. You are the ultimate like service person for mom, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I try to be. I try to do what I can for her. She helps me a lot, so I want to help her as much as I can.
Yeah.
The rewards of giving are way broader and deeper than the rewards of receiving.
No, I think that's true. I believe that.
Yeah, and I'm not sure we realize that when we're younger men. Maybe there are some people who have that innately. It's certainly not something I had earlier. It's something I had to learn along the way.
Right. What are some other like back nine lessons that you might have learned from? My connection here is your dad, right? I think about your dad, how tough he was for you. I think one of the things, this is good. I hope you guys take this the right way. When you get to be where we are on the back nine, and I think you did this with your dad, you don't take everything your parents said and say, that's what I want to be. You take the good stuff, right? And then you take the other stuff that you don't want to be like them. And I know you're like that with your dad. I know you're like that. And I'm, to some extent, like that with you. Like, there's a lot of amazing things, but there's a lot of things I don't want to be like, right? Like, there's a few things that are, the reason I get into this is because your dad's the quintessential example of this. He had so many great qualities, but he's a tough MFer and not super loving. And you've said to me, like, I want to be different than that. So tell our audience about that.
He told me he loved me once, the very last time I saw him.
Wow.
He said, I love you, you're a good boy. But the last time I saw him, I never saw him alive again. But it's nice. He before he died, he told me that. But he worked hard, and I think, going back to what we've already talked about a bunch today, is that his focus was his 4 boys, raising his family, his wife, bringing home the bacon, I should say. That was his life. But they knew how to have fun, too. They had a bowl. They were in a bowling league, and they bowled every Wednesday, and they went out and danced on the weekends and partied. And and had to have a good time and mix it in. My father was a member of a golf club too. He's a pretty good golfer over the years, and so they taught the lessons they thought they should teach.
Well, and that's a really good point. From the answer, Allan, that you just gave to the question that you just asked, Dennis, which is we think of you guys as our dads, but of course you were also sons with dads and that relationship. So how much do you think your relationship with your dad, framed your life?
Oh, dramatically. He was the opposite from what it sounds like your dad was, Allan. We were divorced, and I saw my dad on Friday nights and Saturdays most weeks, and Sundays when the Bears played, because he was a Bears season ticket holder. And I'm trying not to cry.
Oh, no.
He taught me how to have fun, and he lived for me. I mean, he just loved me to death. And I don't have a lot of later life lessons from him because he died when he was 62.
And you were?
I was in law school. I just started law school.
You're 21-ish?
Yeah, 20, whatever it was, 20. I think I was 23. I don't know, something like that. So I didn't get to see him grow old or learn those kinds of lessons. And I didn't. He was a salesman, and he was very successful, but he taught me how to have fun, although there was a lot of intellectual stuff, too. He aligned with the rest of his side of the family in that way. But mostly, he loved me, and always told me he loved me. And so, I would say, the single most important thing in my life that I wanted to do, and hopefully I think I mostly did do, was be sure that I devoted myself to my two boys.
Awesome.
Do you guys think, I mean, Dad, you don't know the difference. Allan, you do know the difference between raising sons and raising daughters. We don't know the difference because we've had, we each have two girls. My father had two boys, and Allan, you have one of each. Do you think, I want to ask you, Allan, how is it different? Is it different raising a boy, raising a girl? That role, your role as a father, and that, because I think that's something that's interesting to all of our audience.
We left the spoiling of the son up to me, and we left the spoiling of the daughter up to Leslie. No.
And which one is more spoiled, do you think? It's him, right? No. Clearly it's him.
Oh, boy. We ain't going there.
I didn't think we were going to go there.
We ain't going down that road.
No, we're not. This is open game for anybody to listen to. So.
No, it's because it's a given. No. But yeah, I think that's, no, but what was, I mean, that's a really good point. I hoped, I think we both probably hoped to raise a son, and it just didn't materialize. What is the difference? Like, what did you hope to instill in your son sitting across from you? And yeah, just.
Well, I think I feel like had a lot of success in regard to you. We did a lot together, and I think you expect a lot from a son, a lot more from a son than you probably would from a daughter. I did anyway. I think he had a harder line to toe because I guess just of my own.
Well, no, because girl dads always, I mean, it's true. Like, I can definitely say that it's, yeah, I mean, you dads and daughters are, like, it's a special thing. It's, you can be a little soft as a dad. It's a thing. That is a thing with your daughters. I don't think my daughters would say I was soft, but their mom was definitely the harder disciplinarian than I was. So that's why my kids, yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting to think about.
Very, very interesting, yeah.
Dad, do you feel you missed out on something by not having a girl?
Yes, I do. I wish I'd had a girl somewhere along the line, although I had two chances at two boys in two separate lives. I mean, because they're 20 years apart. So I had one, and then I had the other one. And I think I mostly stayed the same, and they turned out wonderful but different. But yes, I wish I'd had a daughter. And because of a variety of circumstances and the fact that I lived in Chicago and Josh lived in Chicago for a few years when my granddaughters were little tiny, mostly he didn't. He lived in Buffalo and then in South Florida. And so I didn't get as much opportunities as I wish I had with my two granddaughters who are now adults. Yeah. They're young women. And so I'll never have that opportunity, although I still have a 32-year-old son, and he's got a beautiful partner, and who knows, they may pop out a girl here one of these days. I don't know.
Yeah, you never know. You never know. Would you guys, I'm going to start with you, Dad. And this is a tough question, so you might need a second to think about it. Would you do anything differently on the back nine? Do you think about, like, if I had it to do over again, here's what I would tell people to do?
Can I reframe that question? I think it's a good question. But I think I would say, what are the, looking back at 53, 54. What are the things that surprised you? What are the things that you think, man, I didn't see that coming? What are the things do you see that you said, boy, I'm glad I thought that through? In other words, what are the things that we and our peers who are listening in the audience should be aware of and should be thinking about as we move into the next several holes of our round?
Well, I just think you have to think more of other people maybe than of yourself as you get older, starting in the early 50s, looking forward. Because I will tell you that the years from 50 to where I am now, which is 78, go by awfully quick. It doesn't seem like it's going to be fast, but it's 28 years and they go by like lightning. So I tell people sometimes, total strangers, I said, don't go to sleep tonight. When you wake up tomorrow, that little kid on your lap's going to be graduating from college. So don't sleep too soundly tonight because it goes by quick. So just be a little introspective. You mentioned it earlier. You have to think about things a little more on the back nine than maybe you did in the front nine.
My turn on that?
Yeah.
Well, I view it now that I'm 80 as sort of a third nine because unlike a lot of the people on your show, I mean, what you've talked about a lot on your show is transitioning from a first career or a first marriage, and now you're 50 years old and you're moving on. And I didn't do that. I kept doing the same things I'd always done because now I had this second family that I've spoken about, and it was just like my first family. But looking backwards, I'd say the difference is, and why it's not quite the same kind of transition, is that when you're 50 years old, you can still build a kind of second or third life. But when you get to be older, there's some things you can't change, right? I mean, some things are inevitable. Your body fails somewhat. Your mind fails somewhat. And while I agree in, what's the phrase? Not giving up, don't fight the dying of the light.
Yeah.
That's important, and you should do it. But looking back on it, the thing that I didn't quite anticipate was how, somewhat because of just getting older, relationships change. My friends move. My business relationships change. The son takes over the business, who was my client, instead of the father, and he has his own friends. And so much as I think I've tried to stay relevant and stay involved, it's almost impossible to do. It's very difficult to have as many friends, to be quite as involved in your business as you were, even your friends. I have a group now of like 10 guys at my club who we call the old poops, but because they're around. And there's not a whole lot you can do about it. There's some things. I'm still working. I still practice law, but it isn't totally avoidable no matter how much you want to prevent it.
One of the things that I'm kind of proud of what you said about listening to this show and being more introspective and stuff. And Dad, I think you are too from me. Like, you taught me a ton, but I think I've helped you with Start at Yes. I think I've helped you. Like, you were kind of a Start at No for a while person. Like, at least it was tough to get you to yes. You'd get there. You were always a very it's not a negative thing. So you weren't a negative person. But I think it maybe comes from your dad. It was like, you can't do that. There's no way you can do that. And we kind of both together overcame that because I started to do that. And then I don't know, maybe you could weigh in on that because you've even said that that's a good mantra to have.
I love it. I mean, you still use it a lot. I Start at Yes everybody should add that phrase into their life because you can always get to know, but start at yes. If somebody asks you to do something and it's possible. Yeah, just do it.
It's like you going on a cruise, right, with your brother. You could easily said no, right? But you're like, it's 4 days. I can go. I'm going to do it. I'm going to make it happen. Might not have happened a while ago. So I like that. I like the fact that the roles can be reversed a little bit and we can help each other. It's not just mentee. We can mentor each other at this age. And I think that's an important thing for our audience to understand too, is to think about the relationships with your parents, that it can be that way and not like as one-sided as it was when you were like a kid growing up. It can be that sort of, and that's sort of what I was getting at. Like, are there things that you say, hey, I wish I had started at yes sooner. I wish I had started at yes back in the day.
Way back.
Yeah, way back. And maybe, again, it's not regret. That's the wrong word. But You just think about those things, and that's why I think it's important to bring up.
Can I say something about that?
Yeah.
Josh, at some point, I'm not sure when it was, because he was very competitive, just like you, Dennis, and in business and sports and his career. But at some point, he started to become more spiritual, I thought. And my first reaction was to make fun of him, really. I'm sure
That's true. You did. Yeah.
And I still do sometimes.
Yes, you do.
Just for the hell of it.
We all do, by the way.
Yeah, you're not alone in that.
Just for the hell
Everyone
of it.
gangs up on me.
But I can see how it's improved his life, and I'm learning just a little bit from him about it. And I think I'm a little bit better because of it. And my younger son, he's not like Josh at all. He's a wild and crazy guy and a terrific guy, very talented, artistic guy. But he really challenges my thinking about a lot of stuff. Political stuff, he's making me more left-wing than I was. And in terms of culture, both of them do this, but it's a little bit more important with Max because he's so much younger. At least help me give some, or teach me a little bit about what's going on in modern culture, because I'm terrible about it. I'm Frank Sinatra. I'm not, what's the name of the rock group that's the metal Trivium. I don't know about that. But Max has really helped me with that, at least to try. So, yes, I think it's good. That part's good, to listen to your children.
We'll be right back. Listeners, you know I've been talking about Pete Learning for a few weeks now. Pete is an out-of-the-box training department that helps companies of all sizes reach their company training initiatives. So picture this. Your company leaders hold all kinds of institutional knowledge, but it takes time for them to create and manage the training that it takes to share that knowledge and other company objectives with their employees. And that's time away from what those leaders do best. That is where Pete comes in. Pete uses artificial intelligence, AI, to create robust, threaded training curriculum quickly and inexpensively. Put simply, Pete is an indispensable partner for any growing company. It is win-win at every level. So visit Pete Learning at pete.com. That is PETE.com.
If you need a benefit auctioneer for your next fundraising gala, hire Eric Goodman, who's broken fundraising records all over the country. Josh and I have known Eric for over 30 years, and he's one of the most passionate, energetic, and hard-working people we know. Eric's consulting strategies and successful fundraising techniques is why he raised $1 million in 10 minutes at a recent event. Visit yourfundraisingteam.com to see a video of his work, testimonials, and then book with Eric today so your nonprofit can have a record-breaking night.
All right, back to the show. One of the things, my mom lost a friend fairly recently, and she said one of the things she said to me that kind of stuck with me was, it's really hard when you lose your friends at this age, and we do. And I've lost a good college friend, passed away, and I think about that. If there's one thing I'm dreading about what's coming is losing friends. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't want to be first. Right. I mean, I hope to be here for a long time. But that aspect, how you grow up with people, you share your dreams with theirs, and then your lives are led. So take us through that. The seeing your friends leave us.
Too many, and I think he would agree. You don't know how many years you have left, so I guess you have to try to have those years be as good as they can be for you and for your family, because you don't know whether you have 1 day or 10 years. You don't have any idea.
12th hole or 18th hole, right? I mean,
exactly. Well, I said 17 or 18.
Well, I think that's what happens when you lose people around you. And I do think that happened to you. I think you realized how precious life was when you lost your brother and your dad really close together. We talked about that earlier in the show. I think that was probably the first moment, and you were right at our age, 53, 54, when you realized, and I think we're seeing that, I'm feeling that now when people pass, is that you do realize you never know what hole you're on, right?
Never know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've just lost my 3 best friends from college in the last couple of years. But when the latest one, Les, died, it struck a chord that I can't quite figure out. It has really made me look back, and I see us having fun in college, studying, chasing girls, going to sports, playing sports, all the things 20-year-olds do. And I see those pictures, but it has another selfish aspect to it, which is I do feel sort of better about myself. I feel healthy. I do the things I've always done. It's mostly luck. I don't think I can make a connection that they did something and so they're dead and I did something and so I'm alive. I don't think it's like that. It's mostly luck, but there's a certain real good feeling about it. I know that sounds sort of mean and selfish, but I'm here and I'm still getting to have fun and do my life, and that makes me happy.
Well, I think that's good. I mean, I think that's an enriching feeling because you want to have that healthy, I'm going to be here for a while mentality, right? Like it's what kind of energy you put out. Even with all your physical limitations, you're like, I'm going to be here for a while. Like you're not going anywhere. And like, I love that. I mean, that's the kind of positive energy that's going to keep you around for a while. And so I think that's tremendous.
That's all we have. That's what we have to do. We have to stay positive because that's what we have. And looking forward is more fun than anything else.
Oh, for sure.
We have to do.
For sure.
I want to pick up on something you said about like being a little more spiritual and the Josh thing. And I'll tell you what struck me recently is that everybody has, and nobody should tell anybody what their spirituality should be. Everybody has that individually in them, and it should be kind of your own choice. But I'll tell you what's become more spiritual for me, and it's called awareness. It's called just noticing things that you ever notice. If you want to take one minor step in your life towards being a little more spiritual, look at a tree that you wouldn't have looked at. Look at the way the wind is blowing. Look at the water in a different way if you're at the ocean than you did before, and think about that wave is the last time that wave's going. Like just little things like that. And all of a sudden that presence that you have in that moment gives you some spirituality, and it takes you out of all the stress and drama in your life. And that is what I've started to do. I've got a little of that from you. I've got a little of that from my own self-reflection and study. But if I could just tell anybody, like, you don't have to be like a Reiki master, all those kinds of, all the other stuff. There's little things you can do to be more spiritual in your life and be more aware.
Can I give one little example?
Yeah,
it's so good that you said that. So Josh knows that I'm an avid golfer and what's the right word? Somewhat obsessive about it. And I always have been. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I appreciate the beauty of my club and the elevations and everything. But this year, for the first time, I've observed some things like a kid, this is where I want my ashes thrown or buried. But there's a spot behind the 13th green of the white course. We have two courses, a red and a white course. And there's a creek that runs along the left side of the hole up to the green. And right at the end of the creek, and also the back of the green, most afternoons I drive my cart back there. And maybe I have a Coke or something as I've practiced or played golf. And I might make a phone call or two while I'm sitting there. But it is such a peaceful spot. And I see these sandhill cranes with their babies and the ducks with their little itty-bitty babies. And it's just a beautiful spot. And I can just sit there for 20 minutes, even 30 minutes. And like you were talking about on one of your shows, a recent show or two ago, sometimes I can sit there and my mind just wanders off into nowhere. Once in a while, a thought creeps in. You guys talked about this on one of the shows, and that's okay. I don't usually kick it away. I give it a few minutes, and then I go back to the reverie of just being there, which is not really something I used to do.
That's great.
And it's a beautiful spot. I mean, I don't know if they still are there, but when I was a kid, there were great blue herons that would feed in that creek quite a bit. It was beautiful, big birds, and it's a very tranquil spot in a very tranquil golf club. So, all right, so a couple of questions as we move towards the end of this. The first is this. You guys are 80 and 78. Whether you are here with us another 20 days, we hope it's much more than that, or 20 years, whatever it is, right? I'm just making a now and a down the road. What are the things that you still want to do?
Spend more time with my family.
We can make that happen. That's an easy one. Yeah.
Well, of course, I want to spend more time with the boys. They don't live in my town, and I want to travel more to see them wherever they are. Max is in Los Angeles, basically, and Josh is here in South Florida, or he's really in Central Florida. But so I want to do that. But on the other hand, I like what I do, and I've always liked it. And I mean, I've been very lucky. So I hope I can just continue to do. I like still practicing law and playing golf and going to the Cubs games and
Bears games. You still like Bears games, really?
Yeah.
They're going to be good this year.
They're going to be good this year.
Okay.
This will be, in the first episode, my dad alluded to the fact that my grandfather had season tickets in 1932.
I know, it's
This
incredible.
will be our 93rd season of being Chicago Bears season ticket holders.
That's incredible. That is absolutely extraordinary. That's like bearing the lead. That's big time. That's big time.
And once every 20, 25 years, they have a good team. So
Well, hopefully this is the
Green Bay.
Hopefully this is the year. I will say that I am very blessed. When Dad talks about spending more time with the family, it's not like that doesn't already happen.
Yeah.
I can say that, and you've seen my family. You can see how close I am to my cousins. The one thing that he and his brothers have done, and the family has done a really good job of, is breaking bread together, being a family together. Really, I'm going to get choked up now. Really important. Like those centers of your time together. And as a result, we're a really close family. We really are at so many levels. All the cousins still get together. And it's great. I mean, and I don't see that changing. It's something we've always strived to do, to the point that we're having a very small wedding this year, but we're doing multiple additional parties so that the families can celebrate with us, because it wouldn't be right to not have the families involved in some way. So yeah, it's really, and that's been instilled from you and your brothers and mom and my sister. I mean, we've stayed very close as a family.
Can I ask one more question before we get the glasses going here?
Oh, yeah.
So that little cue for you.
That was
Dennis.
a great cue.
Thank you very much. I tried to be sly. So, one of the things that I think motivated us to have this episode was that I was recalling that when you went to your 50th college reunion, which was probably 7 years ago or so, 8 years ago, you were very involved in that. And you came back from it. I remember you telling me, boy, this isn't really interesting because we've lived our lives. There's life ahead, but we've had our children. They've had their children. We've lived our productive work lives, even though you're still practicing law now. Most people were done. And the next year, I was going to have my 25th. And as it happened, my college sent out a questionnaire for a booklet. And one of the questions was, what have you done in the 25 years since you graduated? And having had the conversation with you, I said, I think this is the wrong question. The question is, what are you going to do with the next 25 years? And so, you're laughing, Allan, and it's funny, but it's true. I mean, I don't want to look back. I want to look at what's next. So I would ask each of you, what would your advice be to us, to our peers in our audience who are like us, whether men or women, whatever it might be, for one thing that we should pay attention to over the next 25 years? It may be different from, I think we're already in agreement on spend more time with your family, but if there's anything else that you can add to that.
Well, I don't know. I have, I think, come up with my own religion. I grew up Episcopalian, but my current religion is I just want to treat people the way I'd like to be treated, the golden rule. And that's my whole religion. If that's wrong, it's wrong. I don't know what to do, but that's how I feel.
And you have found that over the last however length of time, that is the piece that has served you the best?
Yes.
Great.
That's a good one. That's great.
Yeah, I love that.
it's easy for me. It's do what you love to do. Keep doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, follow your passions.
I mean, you boys are both boys. You're successful men. And, I mean, you may have other goals. There may be things in your mind that you love doing that you're not doing, or that you're sure you would love if you did do it. But
pickleball.
I'm gonna get in a pickleball league. It's funny that you mentioned that. Next couple of weeks, I'm joining one. Yeah.
Do what you love to do, no matter what.
Yeah,
that's what I'd say.
I need to. You know what? This got me to thinking. I need to play more golf. I love it so much too, and you get to do it, and the smile on your face, and the joy it brings you. I mean, that's simple. And I will tell you, on one of our early shows, I said to you guys, well, because we remembered that time I played last summer on your birthday.
Yeah.
And I said, as I watched you two walking down the fairway together, I said, and it bears repeating, I said, enjoy every minute that you do this, because you don't know when your last round is with your dad.
You did. You said that.
Because I never knew. He's had a lot of physical ailments, and he hasn't been able to play golf again. And I can't even remember. We played so much golf together over the years, so much. But I don't remember the last time I don't remember because I thought we were all for the last several years. I thought we were going to play again. Yeah, and so just
but here's the funny
enjoy every second of that.
Here's the funny thing about this: we're supposed to play tomorrow, the day after we record this. And my dad, who's 80, still drives the ball 240 yards. It's unbelievably impressive, and I can't play because I have an injury.
So he has a hip flexor. He's on IR with a hip flexor.
Injury.
So he and my father, Josh and my father, are going to be riding around in the golf cart harassing us.
Yeah,
and I'm going to be playing with your dad and my uncle and my cousin. Yeah. And so you guys are going to be the gimps in the golf cart together.
That's exactly. We're just going to fight over who's going to drive. So
yeah. Well, you're going to drive.
Okay.
Yeah, you're going to drive. But yeah, it's been great having you guys. We have one of our guests and sponsors this season has been Bushwood Spirits, and it's all tied into Caddyshack. And our good friend Brad Carpenter was nice enough to send us a few bottles. This is called the Front Nine Bourbon. We've talked about this before. His Back Nine Bourbon sold out already, so we couldn't get any of that. But this is the Front Nine Bourbon. It's aged 7 years. It is outstanding. And Janine in the other room did bring a fifth glass here. Janine, you're welcome to come in here and join us. I'm like, why are there 5 glasses here? Of course I know why there's 5 glasses here, because Janine's has a fifth glass. So you have a little bit here.
Come have one with us.
Yeah, you did. So, cheers.
All right. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers. This has been so amazing. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, dads. Thank you for all you've done for us. So, Josh, I think we were hoping that the Father's Day edition would be spectacular, and I think it obviously lived up to our expectations. But I think the important thing to say on Father's Day is, and we didn't really get this in that much into it, but I think both of our dads showed why they taught us to be a good dad, right? There were so many elements there that we have taken in from them. And on this Father's Day, I want to say happy Father's Day to you on this Father's Day week and these episodes. And I think we know what we've always known, but why we've been able to be good dads.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy Father's Day to you and to all the dads out there. And hopefully all of you who are dads and others learn something from our dads. I did too. There were some stories from my dad that I didn't know, alongside certainly stories from your dad that I didn't know. What I take away from this is the importance of fatherhood, right? I mean, it's something I've known intrinsically as a dad. It's something I've known intrinsically as a son, watching my dad and having him be an example for me as a dad, and helping hear their perspectives, people that we really respect and love, about what's coming next for us over the next 15, 25, 35 years.
What's amazing too is both of them showed so much pride in us, and it makes me proud, right? When your dad's, one of the things you really want is your parents, but as a man, you want your dad to be proud of you, right? Like, I think we look towards that, and they both are. So I listened to that, right, and had a sense of pride, and then it also gave me some pride into being the dad I am with my kids. So I think that came out for me a lot in this episode.
I would add to that, because yes, but I would add to that, how proud we are of them and the lives that they have led to this point, with much more still to go. And hoping that my kids have even a fraction of that, of respect, of love for me, for you, right? And our roles as dads. I mean, the roles that we really have as fathers, more potential to impact a person, our children, and other children, their friends, whoever it might be, in that role, probably more than any other role we have in our lives.
They have a lot of responsibility for what they poured into us to create where we are now, right? Like, because we talked about this, we're sons and we don't have sons.
Right.
So there is a difference there, right? Like, we have this dynamic with them that we don't have with our daughters. It's a completely different dynamic. And that's really special. And I think I'm going to take away from this is I'm going to think more about it. And I think I'm sure most of our audience does, or a lot of them, but maybe you take a little extra time to think about it on this Father's Day, of what your dad has meant to you and what you've meant to him too. Because I think that there's two sides of this, and this whole idea that it's not a mentor relationship on the back nine anymore. It's not just, they're not a mentor anymore. You're like friends and you're helping each other. The things that they said to us about how much we're helping them, they're listening to the show, we're talking to them, we're giving them insights. You can be that too on the back nine for your dads, for your parents. I think that's a interesting component of what came out of this.
I do too. And the corollary to that is that 15 or 20 or 25 years from now, when we're in their position, we should be able to look at our children, even though in both of our cases, it's going to be girls saying this. And maybe it's their significant others who are helping us with that too, who are the men. But to remember that we can learn from them, because getting out of that role is having to guide our children and letting them guide us too.
I'll take that a step further.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to learning stuff from my kids now. Like I absolutely am learning things from my daughters. And I think because my parents and my father is more open to learning things from me, it's making me more open to learn things from my kids earlier than I may have. We can be the authority for only so long, but they're smart. They're intelligent young women. They're learning things that I don't know. I can learn from them. And I think that's the other component of this. We can flip this around and say, okay, as parents, yes, we're still going to mentor our kids, but they can mentor us even now in their 20s and we're in our 50s.
Yeah, for sure. I think back to when we first together dreamed up the concept for this episode and what my expectations were, my hopes were. I don't know that anybody in the audience feels this way. I hope you do, but exceeded them. 1,000, I mean, just by miles. I'm so thrilled that they wanted to do this, were engaged in this, participated and were present for this, had so many great insights.
I'll take it even one step further. We have a time capsule that can never be taken away from us. Never. That's a big deal.
Yeah, 1,000%, for sure.
Well, thank you for joining us on the Back Nine. This has been really special. Happy Father's Day. This is after Father's Day now, so happy Father's Day, celebrating all the amazing dads out there and what you have done for your kids like our dads have done for us. Thanks so much.
Thanks for being with us on the Back Nine. Hey, listeners, we just wanted to thank you for being a part of our community to date. We love the feedback you've given us to this point as we continue to build the Back Nine above and beyond what we're already doing.
Yeah, help us by following, subscribing, and or downloading and sharing with your friends and family as well. We have lots of plans for how we can continue to provide good perspective and fantastic resources for all of you. So join us on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or your preferred platform, and know that we are incredibly grateful for your support.
Yeah, we are. We look forward to seeing you in person soon, hint, hint, and knowing that you're out there making the loop with us every week on the Back Nine.
Three Bridges is proud to be a sponsor of the Back Nine. My business partner and I founded the company in 2019 with the simple premise that we wanted to be the best storytellers for your brand. Let's be real here. We say bring your brand to life because if you don't have video, your brand is either dead or dying. We recently completed a project with a huge resort out in Colorado Springs called Garden of the Gods. We produced multiple videos that I am personally very proud of, and more importantly, they are thrilled with them. If you want to see our work, check out Three Bridges Consulting on our YouTube page. That's the number 3 Bridges Consulting on YouTube, and see how we can breathe life into your brand.
The Back Nine is fully baked with Hugs and Kisses by Stella Mix Productions and recorded at Pixelworks Studios in Delray Beach, Florida.